On our computer keyboard, we have a group of keys which are known as the function keys or the functional keys. These special keys cause your operating system, your command interpreter, and other applications to perform certain actions. On the traditional keyboard, there are 12 keys which are ranged from F1 to F12. So whenever you get access to a traditional keyboard, mostly the functional keys consist from F1 to F12. Now we are going to walk through these individual keys that we have in the function keys on our computer keyboard. I have this Excel window, and one by one we will get to know about the function keys and its individual operations in Microsoft Excel. So the first key on the function key is the F1, and the purpose of this key is to open the Excel help dialog box. So if I press F1 on the keyboard, at the right side of the Excel window we have this help dialog box, and now it says, sorry, something went wrong, please check your internet or network connection and try again. So if you have an internet connection and you are connected to the internet, you have so many options displayed here, and this is where you are going to get more information or more intuitive information about Excel. You'll be able to learn more about functions and formulas and other individual commands we have in Excel, and this dialog box is going to be of help to you. And if you want to learn more about Excel, this is very beneficial. So the F1 always displays the help dialog box. Now the second key is F2. This helps you to activate the edit mode in Microsoft Excel. Currently, if I select this particular cell which contains 14, when I move to the formula bar, that is the item or the data that we have in this Excel. If you want to add an additional data to this and you try to type something on the keyboard, this is going to overwrite this particular data. So to cancel this, you press the escape key. Now this is the previous data that we have in this cell. So let's assume I want to edit this data in this cell. It is very simple. This is where you have to use the F2 on the keyboard. Definitely you are going to have this blinking cursor in this cell, and if you want to add an additional data to this, you type and press the enter key. So the F2 is used to activate the edit mode in Microsoft Excel. So when you select, you press the F2, and that is going to activate the blinking cursor, and you can edit your data in Microsoft Excel. And anytime you want to get out of this edit mode, you press the escape key on the keyboard, and what shows that you are in the edit mode. When you move to the status bar, we have this option that says edit, and that shows that this particular cell is in the edit mode. Therefore, when I press the escape key, now this becomes a ready cell, and when you move to the status bar, we have ready, and this shows that this cell is a ready cell. Therefore, you can enter any data into this cell. So that is the functional key F2. Now the next one is called F3, and the function of this is to display the paste name range dialog box. So if I press the F3 on the keyboard, this provides me with a paste name dialog box, and this is when if you have some name range created in your Excel data, you are going to have them listed here. And I'm going to show you an example. If I select all these cells, and all these cells contains this individual data, and they are of fruits. When I move to the name box, I have A2 here. I'm going to click and type fruit, and I'm going to hit the enter key. Perfectly, I have created a name range for these selected data. Now if I press F3, you can see that I have fruits in this list, and anytime you press this particular key, you are going to have the paste name dialog box, and you can get access to your created name ranges. And the function of this is, if I select this cell and press the F3, click on fruit and click on OK, now it says that equal to fruit, and when you press the enter key, that is going to display all the fruits that you have in this particular Excel worksheet. And this is not going to enhance you to type your data individually, but rather you have it and you can paste it in a different worksheet using the paste name dialog box. Aside this also helps you in calculating your data in Excel in a simple way. Now if I type equal to, and I have already created a name range for this quantity, and if I type sum and then hold the F3 on the keyboard, select quantity, and when I press the enter key, you can see that I have total for all these cells that we have here. Instead of typing the sum function and selecting all this range, I used the name range feature in Microsoft Excel, and that was outputted by the help of the paste name range dialog box. Because if I use the normal way of adding this data, I can select all this data and press the enter key, and you can see that we have the same output in this particular cell. So name ranges are very beneficial, and I'll be making a separate video on that in Microsoft Excel. So F3 is used to bring out the paste name range dialog box. Now the next key is called the F4, and the function of this is to repeat the current action that was made in Microsoft Excel. And also a bonus for it is that it helps you to change your relative cell reference to absolute cell reference. So let's go with the current action of it. That is the repetition of the current action in Microsoft Excel. So I am going to select this cell, move to the home tab, change the font, the fill color to red, and then change the font color to white, and also choose bold, and that is going to be the effect for all this data. And if I want to apply this formatting to this cell, I'll just select this cell and press the F4 on the keyboard, F4. And what happens here is that you can see that this is pasting or repeating the last action I chose in my formatting. I started with this, and this was the last action that I did when I was formatting this cell, and that's what this is going to paste on this individual data. If I move back and select this and change the font color to this particular color, now when I select this and press F4, 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 so you can see that I am repeating the last action that was made to this particular cell. Now the bonus tip is for changing a cell reference, that is a relative cell reference, to absolute cell reference. Now if I have this data here and I want to have its individual percentage, I'm going to select this cell, hold the Alt key and the equal to sign, and press the enter key. So this is the total or the grand total for this data, and I want to have the percentage for it or for the individual data here. I'll select this, type the equal to sign, select this, divide by this grand total, and press the enter key. So I have these decimal numbers. If I use the fill handle and drag it down, you can see that I have the accurate data in the first cell, but this subsequent data have an error output. This shows that we are using cell reference, and that is not going to work on this data that we have here. Therefore, we need to have this cell in our calculation as absolute, so that all this data is going to divide this particular cell. Then we can have our percentage applied to this data. So what I'm going to do is to go back to this current cell and double click, and when I place or click between this cell reference, I can press F4, and now I have this as an absolute cell reference. And when I press the enter key, use the fill handle and drag it down, this is going to give me a perfect output. And when I move back to the home tab in the number group and choose this percentage symbol, then I have all this individual percentage applied to this data. And this shows that if I add all this data, I need to get 100%, Alt equal to, and press the enter key. So this is absolute accurate. This means that we have a perfect calculation done in Microsoft Excel, and the absolute cell reference was gained by using the functional key F4. The next on my key is F5, and this F5 opens up the GoTo dialog box. So pressing the F5, you have this go to dialog box. This also helps you to move to individual cell references and also individual worksheets that is created in your workbook. So we have this go to here. I've already worked with this worksheet, so you can see that when I click on this quantity and click, this will jump me to that particular name range in this particular worksheet. So that is this particular option. And also when you get to the reference field, you can type a cell reference. Maybe if I type H10 and click on OK, this will jump the selection from the previous cell to the H10. So this helps you to jump to individual cell references and also individual worksheets in Microsoft Excel. When you go to the special option, we have other go to special options here. We have comment, constant, we have formulas, we have blanks, we have row differences, we have column differences. So if I choose formulas and click on OK, this will select any cell that consists of a formula. So you can see that this is selected, these are selected, and also this is also selected. It means that all the cells that are currently selected contains formulas. So the go to special dialog box that is obtained by pressing the F5 on the keyboard helps you to jump from individual cells and also individual worksheets. Now the next key on my keyboard is the F6, and the function of this is to help you navigate through your Microsoft Excel ribbon or the interface. Now I have this cell selected. If I press the F6 on the keyboard, this is going to select this current worksheet. Therefore, I can use my arrow keys to jump to this individual worksheet. I am jumping to this worksheet that I have here, and if I want to get access to it, I can press the enter key, and that is going to select that particular worksheet. So anytime you press F6 and you have a cell selected, this jumps you to the selection of this worksheet that we have here. If you press the F6 once again, this is going to select an item on the status bar. So currently we have this selected, and you can use your arrow keys to jump through these options that we have on the status bar. So currently we have this selected, arrow key, arrow key, arrow key. So you can see that I am using the left and the right arrow key to navigate through the options on the status bar. So now that we are on the status bar, if I press the F6 once again, now I have the quick access toolbar and also the individual tabs that we have on the menu bar. So this brings out some letters and also number representations which you can quickly press, especially if your mouse is not working well. You can use these letters and numbers to activate your commands on the Excel ribbon. So currently, if I want to move to the review tab, I'm going to press the letter R, and that will get me access to the review tab, and this is the ribbon that is associated to the review tab. So the F6 helps you to navigate through your current cell, to your worksheet, to the status bar, and also to the menu bar and the quick access toolbar. So if I press the F6 again, now I have my cell selected or activated. So that is the F6 on the keyboard, helping you to have a perfect navigation through your Excel interface. Now we are moving to the next key, which is called F7. When you press the F7 on the keyboard, it says, do you want to continue checking at the beginning of the sheet? Yes. It says spell check complete, you are good to go. So now let me get access to a different worksheet, and I'm going to press the F7. It says spelling English United States, not in the dictionary. Now this is the data that is selected, that is Dovi, but this program do not recognize this particular data, so it is providing me with other suggestions like Dove, Dovid, Dovi, Dol, Dodi, and Dori. We have other options here, so if all these suggestions match my preference, I can choose them and have a change to this data. But if this is what I want to have in my Excel worksheet, then I can ignore once. This moves to the next one. Ignore, 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 ignore. So you can ignore all the selection if the right data, that is what you've typed in your individual cells, you can ignore them. Then you choose yes, ignore. Now it says spell check complete, you are good to go. But if you have other data that has some spelling errors, this particular feature is going to help you to correct it and have a perfect data in Microsoft Excel. So F7 always opens up the spell check feature in Microsoft Excel. The next on my list is the F8 key. This helps you to have an extension of selection after selecting a particular cell or range of cells. Then you use the arrow keys to have an extend selection. So if I select this particular cell and press the F8 on the keyboard, now when you move to the status bar, it says extend selection. Therefore, when I use the down arrow key, you can see that I am selecting this. Right arrow key, I am selecting. So you can use this to have some extend selection using your arrow keys whenever you have the F8 key pressed on your computer keyboard. And to cancel this operation, you press the escape key. Now if you use the arrow key, this is not going to have an extend selection because we are out of that particular mode on the status bar. But the moment you select and hold the F8 on the keyboard, we have the extend selection mode activated. Therefore, you can use the arrow keys to have the extension and select your data in Microsoft Excel. And as usual, to cancel, you press the escape key on the keyboard. The next on my list is the F9, and this is used to have a manual calculation in Microsoft Excel. Not all that useful, but just in case you want to have an understanding and some validation based on your preference when it comes to calculating data in Excel, you can use the F9 on the keyboard. And to use the F9, you need to activate some option. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. The first option is to click on the formulas tab on the menu bar, and then when you go to the calculation group, we have calculation options. When you click, we have automatic except for data tables, and also we have manual. Therefore, if I get to this data, and then now we have orange selected, and that is the total that we have here. And if I change any of this amount that is related to orange, now we have 30 cedis. If I type 50 cedis and press the enter key, you can see that automatically this particular data has changed because we have automatic calculation activated in Microsoft Excel. Now if I select this and change to pineapple, you can see we have 32 cedis. And when I move to the pineapple field and change this to 10 cedis, you can see that this has changed from 32 cedis to 40 cedis because we have the automatic calculation activated. So if I move to the formulas tab, click and change this to manual, now we have this as 40 cedis. If I change this to 20 cedis and press the enter key, you can see that we don't have this change because we have manual calculation activated. So therefore, if I want this to change, I'll move to my keyboard and press the F, then it changes to 60 cedis. Now note, when you press the F9 and you don't see any effect, you need to hold Ctrl+S on the keyboard, and that is to save your workbook to have the effect activated. And that is where I'm going to show you the second option to activate the manual calculation. So moving to the formulas tab, clicking on this helps you to change this to manual in this particular option. The next option is to right click, choose customize ribbon on any of these tabs. Then in the Excel options dialog box, we have these options. I'm going to choose formulas, and then we have manual already selected because we chose it from the front stage view of Microsoft Excel. So when it comes to activating the manual way of having some calculations in Microsoft Excel, as I said earlier, for your personal preference to have some validation purposes, then you can activate this in the Excel options dialog box by clicking on this option, or on the formulas tab you choose this particular option and activate your manual calculation. So these are the two ways of having this activated. So after doing so, you can click on OK. So when it gets back to your interface and change a value, and then when you press the F9, this is going to change this because we have the manual calculation activated. The next on my key is the F10, and this works similarly to the F6 on the keyboard. This helps you to activate the menus on the Excel ribbon. If I press the F10, you can see that I have this letter representations on these tabs that we have on the menu bar, and also we have these numbers on this individual commands on the quick access toolbar. So if your mouse is not working well, you can use this action, which is the F10, to activate the letter and the number representations on these commands that we have in the Excel ribbon. Then you press the corresponding letters and numbers to activate your commands. So if I want to access the review tab, I'm going to press the letter R, and that jumps me to the ribbon of the review tab. And I also have other letters that are related to these commands that we have here. So if I want to protect my worksheet, I'm going to press the letter PS, and I'm going to have the dialog box of the protect sheet, and then I'm going to activate the protect sheet option. So that is the function F10. The next on my list is the F11. This is used to create a chart from a selected data. So if I select this data and press the F11 on the keyboard, this is going to create a separate worksheet in this workbook, and I'm going to have the chart that is related to the selection of the data that I had the quantity and also the amount. So the quantity is represented with the blue bar, whilst the amount is represented with this light brown color that we have in this chart. So F11 is used to create a chart in Microsoft Excel. I'm going to close this worksheet by deleting. Now the last key, which is called the F12, it is used to open the save as dialog box, and this is purposely for saving an existing webbook to a different location, that is to have a duplicate of the file, or you want to save this into a different location or an external drive that is connected to your computer system, and you want to have this duplicate onto that particular drive. The F12 becomes very handy. And also if you want to change the file name of that existing workbook. So currently I have this as employee status, and when I press the F12 on the keyboard, this opens up the save as dialog box, and I have the option to choose a location, change the file name, and then click on save to save this particular workbook. So these are the individual keys that we have on the functional keys or the function keys, and as you can see, if they are very useful to you, you need to put them into practice in your Excel daily activities. And I believe we have a brief understanding about this, and we know when to use this particular keys. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, comment, and also consider to subscribe if you are new to this particular channel, and I welcome you to my community.